Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope everyone's having a blessed weekend so far, or weekday so far. Today, I'm going to speak with you about career advice as it relates to interviewing. All right. But before we get started, I want you to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, copy, share it with your colleagues who may be in the job market and they need some tips on how to interview. We're going to talk about interviewing today. So one of the services I provide my clients is we do mock interviews. We do Zoom interviews. We do phone interviews. The way the world right now, in the state we're in, a lot of companies are making hiring decisions based on a Zoom call or either a phone interview. And for the most part, some candidates, man, it's like pulling teeth for them, right? So been doing a lot of those mock interviews for clients as of late, and I'm noticing the same trend. They'll get on the phone and they'll talk about, we'll talk about the opportunity, and I'll get to the area where I want them to kind of explain what they're currently doing, and in this case, what I'm doing is I'm really just going down their resume, from a technical perspective, because most of my clients are technical clients, and that's kind of where a lot of opportunities are right now in the tech field. What I want to let you guys know is that if you're a tech person, i.e. systems administrator, developer, programmer, whatever, right? Anything that falls under technical, and you have a skill set on your resume, you better be able to back up that skill set. You better be able to talk about that skill set, because in most cases, when you're talking to a hiring manager, you're probably going to be talking to the lead, the technical lead, maybe not the PM or the hiring manager per se. You're going to be talking to their technical lead, or what they consider their technical resource for the project. And it's not going to be a, did you do this, did you do that? It's going to be more of a conversation. So it's going to come off very relaxed. It's not going to be this or that. When they do ask you questions, if you can't answer them, they're going to say, okay, no problem. I was just asking a question. But just trying to see if you've done it. And it may sound like it's okay, but it's really not okay. You must be able to back up everything on your resume. So if you have that you are a Java developer, for example, and you also say that you can work with Swing, J2EEs, EJBs, those are all keywords and those are tool sets within the Java realm, and you really haven't or you can't, you're gonna be exposed. It's the worst thing you can do is put down a bunch of skill sets that may fall under your particular development niche, but you haven't touched those tools. It's going to be a bad day for you. You're going to find yourself on the call very quiet. When they ask you questions, you're going to go into think mode. It's going to be dead silence, kind of like this. So one thing that I'm noticing with these mock interviews is that, for example, we'll just kind of go down the resume. If I'm talking to someone that may be a network engineer, and I'm looking for someone that's worked with routers and switches, etc. Now, in the technical field, we know that there is more than one way to get to a solution, okay? And so when you're being interviewed, don't feel bad if you have a certain way that you get to the solution versus what you think they might want to hear. Now is the time for you to say, well, this is how I'll provide this solution. This is how I would do this. This is how I would do that. And be okay with that. Live with that. Because when someone asks you a question, how do you get something done or something particular done? If this problem arises, what do you do? And if you know how you do it, explain it. It may not be the way that that particular person does, that technical resource does it, but they'll look at it like, oh, okay, I see how you still got the same result, right? So great, no big deal. But when they ask you that question and there's dead silence for about 5 or 6 seconds, and then you come back and say, oh, okay, I've done this, and I really haven't done it a lot. Done. And you would think that, most people think that because someone makes over, let's say, $100,000, for example, maybe upwards of $180,000, that they just have it all together. They can just go in there and knock out an interview. It's nothing to them, no big deal. It's so far from the truth, man. I've hired people that make upwards of $160,000, $70,000, and when I sit in on interviews with them, on Zoom interviews or what have you, for my clients, it's just a listen in, just dial in, just a listen in. Man, they're lost and they get stuck, and it's almost like they're talking to someone entirely different. It's like, who is that person? I've seen the same thing happen with general admin roles, project management roles, director roles. When you're initially talking to someone, you feel like, oh man, this guy's got it, or this young lady, they're very, well, we use the word sharp in the industry. Then when they get in that interview, it's like a deer in headlights. So what I want to tell everyone out here who is in the job market right now, and yes, most companies are doing a lot of Zoom conferences, they're doing a lot of phone interviews. Do not make it a big deal. Just make sure you got your background, wherever you're doing your call at. Make sure it's nothing crazy running around. Make sure your kids are in place. Try to have it as an office setup. Have on professional attire, at least up top, right? You can have on your shorts underneath because they can't see that. But try to give them the image of how it would be if you were at the work site, if you were working on site, and the type of professionalism you can provide. I think it's an advantage to doing a Zoom call. I think it's a huge advantage. If you get a little nervous, that's okay too. But stick to what you know. And if you don't know something that they ask, say, you know what, I haven't really come across that, or I'm not really familiar with that. Because I'll also tell you what interviewers would do as well, especially from a technical perspective. They'll ask you something that there's just no answer to. They'll ask you a question that there is just no correct answer to, just to see what you'll do. And in some cases, people say, oh yeah, I've worked with that. Or yeah, I've done that, I did it this way. And they were just asking a question just so you would say, I'm not familiar with that. That's something new, explain that to me. That's what they were looking for. That's the answer they were looking for. But we live in a culture where we want to have the right answer all the time. Don't be afraid to say, you know what, I haven't come across that yet, or I'm just not familiar with that. Can you explain that one to me? I'm just not familiar with it. And live with that, because from a technical perspective, a lot of these technical interviewers will ask you those types of questions that really have no answer, just to see if you will try to ramble and fight your way through it and try to figure out some miraculous answer, all right? So the takeaways are this: when you're on a technical interview, if you do not have the actual skills that you have listed on your resume, take them off your resume, one. Number two, if the interviewer asks you some questions that just don't even wow, and you really don't know the answer, say, you know what, I am not familiar with that. That's probably something I haven't seen before. I thought I've seen it all, but I guess I haven't heard of that one before. Because they're probably trying to trick you, all right? Number three, just relax. Relax, 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 relax. Do not be a mute, just not talk, but relax, okay? I hope these tips, guys, will really help you secure that next opportunity. And as always, run your race. Look at the bottom of the description here. If you want to set up a mock interview so you can kind of sharpen up your skills, and what we do is we critique your interview. We go through, for example, if you have an interview upcoming, we'll take that job description that you're going to be interviewing for, and we will interview you based on that job description from a technical perspective, and then also a behavioral perspective as well. I think it's worth it just to kind of look at it as a pregame, look at it as a mock interview, the interview before the interview, just to get your skills sharp, and then also we can help you with some tips in terms of some of the questions you may want to ask when it's your turn to ask questions, and most importantly, just to prepare you, So hit the link below if you're interested in scheduling a mock interview. Real good process. It's been really, really advantageous for a lot of our customers and clients who have taken us up on that, and they've seen their they've seen a huge turnaround in their performance on their interviews. So remember, getting a job is a job. It's a job getting a job, So you can't just put your resume out there and hope someone just miraculously calls you. We help individuals learn how to properly search for a job as well. So I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. As always, please subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and remember to always run your race.